Okay, good evening and welcome to this special Moshe Shabbos edition of Just Daf It, Daf Yom Shir. We're doing Nedarim Daf Dala number 4. I'm going to start on the top. We're discussing the bottom of Gimel and Beis, how it's shaykh to have Baal Ta'acher by Nazirus. Baal Ta'acher normally applies when I uh, consecrate a korban. I pledge a korban to the base of the Mikdash. I have 3 regalim in order to bring that korban. This is where Rosh Hashanah says. So by Naziris, how does that apply? The Naziris is when you become a Nazir, you're also to become Tamei Lamesim. You can't drink wine or eat grapes. Additionally, you're also not allowed to shave your head, cut your hair. So how does Baltachar apply? So the Gemara gave one answer on the bottom of the Golden base. The Gemara is going to give it a second answer over here. Dalat Amanal Rachar Yaakov Amar. The top line can go, the other base Akvaros. He took a Nazirus and he was standing in a cemetery when he did it. Now, if you're in a cemetery, you're already violating, at that moment, you're violating one of the Yisurim of Nazirus. So, Hanichal Manda Amr, the Gemara says, Lo Chayla Nazirus Mil Alter. Right? It's a machlokas in Riyochan and Rish Lakish, Masachas Nazir. If in this instance, when you take a Nazirus and you're already ruining your Nazirus the second you're taking Nazirus, is it Chal the Nazirus or not? So if you hold it's not Chal the Nazirus, so therefore you made a pledge to take a Nazirus, and you have to go out of the basic faros and start taking it upon yourself. One opinion, Rabbi Yochanan holds that it's Chal Mikara. Mika Balta'acher is there Balta'acher. Furthermore, Hamar Ravashi further clarified that Machlokas in Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Everyone agrees Chayla Naziris Ma'alter. Chipli, we heard Yochanan and Rish Lakish argue. Linyan Malkas Pligi. They only argue whether by taking Naziris when you're in a cemetery. So do you violate? Normally, when you violate one of the prohibitions in the Naziris, you become Tamei the Mason, you get Malkus. Rish Lakish says the Naziris has Chal, you just don't get Malkus. According to everybody, so according to everybody, the Naziris is Chal. So what Baal Ta'acher is there? You already were Makabal in Naziris. You're not delaying, you're already a Nazir. So the Gemara says, Baal Ta'acher, Mishum the Kama'acher Naziris Tara. The Gemara introduces a new answer, a big chiddush over here. I'm going to elaborate on this in Ian with Ben Sion. We'll talk more about this topic in a deeper level. Ian, a separate Ian share. Give it every day on Daf Yomi. Very unique. In 8-10 minutes, also unbelievably unique. So the Gemara says he's ma'acher Nazir Satira because when you take a Nazir, it's fine, it's chal, but now you're tamei, right? Every time you pledge a Nazirus and you don't fulfill the standard 30 days of Nazir, as long as you specify Nazirus is for 30 days. So on day 15 of being a Nazir became tamei, the Torah tells you have to bring korbanos and you have to start counting again. So you're delaying the Nazirus of Tara of becoming tamei. So much Amar Rashi says once you're introducing this concept, once we're saying this, Nazir is amazing. A regular Nazir, he's not taking Nazirus when he's in a cemetery. He's matame atzma amazing. He goes and purposely walks into a graveyard or comes in contact with a dead person over Mishum Baltach or Nazirus Tara, right? He's fulfilling his Nazirus. And we'll talk more in Ben Sion about what exactly is Baal Ta'acher. Right? Let's say a korban, right? Is Baal Ta'acher that you're denying hektish or the base of the Mikdash a korban? You're bringing it too late, or is that you're not keeping to your word? You're taking too long to keep your promise. That is what I'm going to talk about, and the Gemara really is dealing with this over here. Racha Breder Ravika gives a third answer. Amar over Baal Ta'acher to Galachto. Right, one of the things, even after you complete 30 days of Nazirus Batara, you fulfilled your Nazirus for 30 days, you didn't violate any of the 3 Yisurim. Nonetheless, after you're done, you have to shave your head and you have to bring 3 korbanos. Gemara details of Masachas Nazir. So if I delay bringing those korbanos for 3 regalim over Baal Ta'acher, it's machlokas in Masachas Nazir whether you actually have to shave and bring the korbanos. It's just a mitzvah to giluach and to bring those 3 korbanos. You don't have to, right? It doesn't inhibit you from retroactively fulfilling your Nazirus pledge. Mitzvahs giluch miyal o mekayim. You're not doing as a mitzvah, even if there's no ikuva, it's not likuva fulfilling your nazira. It's still a mitzvah to bring karbonos, and you're delaying that. Marzusha Breder Rav Mari Amar, a fourth answer, over Balta Acher Karbonosov. He violates Balta Acher. I'm sorry, the previous answer wasn't talking about bringing the karbonos. It was talking about shaving your head. Balta Acher, if you don't shave your head. Because my focus is whether shaving your head, when you have to shave your head and burn the hair. So that's a question whether that's ma'acher. The karbonos is definitely ma'acher. You have to bring the karbonos after you fulfill your naziris. The Gemara was talking before about not shaving your head, delaying about shaving your head. Now the Gemara talks about what I just really was mentioning before. Balta'acher karbonosov. By not bringing the 3 karbonos, you have to bring a chatas, ola, and shlom at the end of your naziris. This is not subject. You have to do this. So by delaying that, it's like for 3 regalim, it's like balta'acher, a regular korban. If you pledge a korban in the base of nation, delay 3 regalim, you're over balta'acher. Delaying. Because the Gemara says you learn it out from here. We don't need a special pasuk over here. We learned it on Daf Gimel. The Gemara learned it about Balta Acher, just like by Neder applies in the zeros from the Hekesh and the pasuk. You don't need a Hekesh for that. We know from Nahacha Nafkalei, Mahasam Nafkalei, Kidarosh Yidroshena, the original pasuk which talks about Balta Acher. Hashem wants you to bring your korbanos. Kidarosh Yidroshena, a double lashon. Eluchataos ve'ashamos. It's talking about any korban chaz or asham you're obligated. Or the Gemara says also shlamim and olos that are mechuyev to bring, right? For example, this Nazir has to bring he has a chiyuv to bring an ola shlamim and a chatas. So this pasuk already tells you that's included in Baal Ta'ach. Why didn't a hekesh to tell me that? So the Gemara says no. Ma would say a chidushu shechid Torah b'Nazir. By a Nazir, we wouldn't have learned it out of that pasuk. My chiddush, a Nazir is a chiddush. My chiddush. What's a chiddush? Leimad l'matfis le'lechatas Nazir b'neder. Right? It's not like a neder. Neder, I pledge I'm going to bring this korban under the base of Mikdash. A Nazir. Right, you don't pledge when you say I'm going to be a nazir. You don't say I'm going to be a nazir and bring these karbonos after I'm done with my nazirus. Over Balta Acher, elamai harei chatas chelev she'en matfisa b'neder. Over Balta Acher, right? A chatas when you bring for doing an avera that you're chayav. If you would do it on mazid, you would chayav kari. If you did a shogi, you're chayav chatas, regular case of chatas. So in that case, also you don't pledge a korban chatas. You have to do an avera in order. If you just go and say I want to bring a chatas for an avera, and you didn't do the avera, your hekdesh, your sanctification is meaningless. You have to have done an avera. You can't just make it. You can't just pledge a chatas chayla days and midrash the overall ta'acher. And you see, nonetheless, you're out about ta'acher. So also here I know there's why is it a chiddush? So the Gemara says, "El Ma'ich Chiddush." What is a chiddush? Heavy nazir. By nazir, it's a machlokas. If you just take the zeros by not saying I'm a nazir, you say I'm answering myself from grapes or grape seeds, right? And you don't mention either that you're in his nazir. You don't mention the fact that you don't include I'm not eating grapes. I'm not being metamal mesiv, and I'm not cutting my hair. You don't say all 3 things. It's machlokes. Heavy nazir, you're a nazir. L'chol. So therefore, it's a unique thing that by naziris, even if you pledge part of it, you become a nazir l'chol. Em lo la'avra lemshum ba'al ta'acher. So therefore, since it has this uniqueness, so therefore maybe ba'al ta'acher doesn't apply over here. Kamal shmala. Nonetheless, that's why the hekesh tells me it applies. So the marzanichlam adamar ki nazir min charts and heavy nazir l'chol. That's according to the Chachamim who say that it works. El Reb Shimon damar ein nazir ad sheyazir mikulan. He says you have to mention all 3 Yisurim, or say you're a Nazir stam, right? Ma'ikal man, where's the Chiddush? Oh, the high Chiddush, the Chumru. This is not really a good Chiddush, because this is a Chiddush, right? That if I take part of the Nazirus, it obligates me in the entire Nazir. That's a Chumra, right? So, if a regular Neder is Balta Acher, Kol where there's more stringent halachas, there should be Balta Acher. Elamai Chidushe, the Gemara says, Dagda Chamina, Hoil, top of Dalam and Beis, technically, you have to bring 3 korbanos after you're done with your nazir. If you brought one of their korbanos, you're yotze. So therefore, loli avra alav bal ta'acher. Bal ta'acher, normally if I pledge a korban, I have to bring that korban. Or if I pledge 10 korbanos, I have to bring 10 korbanos. Here, I only have to bring one out of three b'di'evet. So therefore, maybe Baal Dachar doesn't apply. Come hashmalan. V'bay zema. Alternatively, my chidushe. What's the chidush? Mishum lo mitfisu b'neder. Like we said originally, because you can't take a neder to obligate yourself in these three korbanos. First, take naziros, and being a nazir and fulfilling the 30 days in naziros, that obligates you in the korban. You can't just say I'm chayiv in these three korbanos of nazir. So there's the leniency, and that's the chiddush. You over Baal Ta'acher. We had a question for that chatas chaylev, right? You're over Baal Ta'acher, even though you can't just on a whim make yourself chayiv in chatas chaylev. Chatas chaylev ka'askil kapara. Chatas chaylev is not relevant over here because there you're doing it for kapara for a sin. So therefore, since you need kapara for the sin, so therefore Baal Ta'acher applies. Over here, maybe, right? It's not. It's hard to. You don't just accept upon yourself these karbanos. So there's a leniency over here. So maybe I would think it's no Baal Ta'acher. Amash Blan. The Gemara says, "Chadas nazir l'may asya." Chadas nazir is just it's part of the process of being a nazir. When you complete your nazirs, you bring on chadas. It's not for an aveir. Varei chatas yoledes. The Gemara says, "What about yoledes?" Yoledes, after she has a child, she's obligated to bring a chatas. And over there also, right? She didn't do an avera over there. So the Gemara says, no. There is an urgency to bring a korban because until she brings a korban, she's tmeya in a certain respect. She can't eat kachim. By a nazir, there's no isra of kachim. The chatas is not doing anything over here, so it's not as stringent of a korban. By chatas, a regular chat, korban chatas, that's for kapara. Yoledis there's a purpose to bring kachim. Here, it's a more lenient korban. There's seemingly no reason for it. It's just part of the process in the zeros. I would think maybe Baal Ta'acher doesn't apply, so therefore you need a hekish. Amar Mar. Now back to the Brisa on Daf Gil. Amar Nedarim Av Mefer Nidra Bito Baal Mefer Nidra Ishto. After the zeros, Av Mefer Nidra Bito Baal Mefer Nidra Ishto. We learned the hekish also. That just like by Nedarim, a husband can annul the vows of his wife and of his daughter. So too, the naziros of his wife and his daughter. Lama lihekesha. Why do I need a hekish? All right, juxtaposition in the pasuk. The Tanya. Just learn out of Nedarim and naziros are similar kind of in Yonim. They're both things that you're makabel on yourself. It applies in one case. If I have no reason to assume it wouldn't apply in another case, I can learn. Mamatzino is just if there's no reason to oppose me learning from similar cases, I would learn from one case to another. So the Gemara says, Dilma Gabi Nedarim Hud Mayfair. The Gemara says, no, there is a rejection, there is a rebuttal. Gabi Nedarim Hud Mayfair. Nedarim has the ability to annul his wife and his daughter's Nedarim. If they make a vow, it's forever, right? They make a vow not to eat a piece of meat, that's forever. Aval Gabi Naziris is like Kitzusa. Nazir, a regular Naziris is only obligatory for 30 days. The Stam Nazir Shloshim Yom Aim below. Maybe I would say he doesn't have the ability, the power to annul his daughter or his wife's Naziris. Kamash Malan. That's when the heck should tell me he has that power. Ha'omer lechaver mudra anim imcha. Amar Shmuel. This is going back on our Mishnah, right? If you say Moder anim imcha, I take another from you for shanim imcha. I separate myself from I distance myself from you. These are all lashonos of a neder, or a yad of a neder. We'll talk about more in the coming dapim. It's a handle, it's a partial neder, but it counts as a neder. He has to say, Mudrani Mimcha, I take a neder from you, is not sufficient. He has to say, he has to add on Mudrani Mimcha, Shani Ochala, or Shani Toimla, that I'll eat from you, or because if you say Mudrani Mimcha, I take a neder from you, in what aspect? You have to know that you're assuring a hana, to get benefits. You have to clarify and say that I'm not going to eat from you or not going to taste from you. Meisive, the Gemara has a question from Brisa. Mudarim imcha, mufrashan imcha, meruchanim imcha. Areza aser. Brisa says if you say any of these lashonos by themselves, seemingly it's aser. And the Brisa continues, Shani ochalach, Shani toimlach, areza aser. So it seems like it's two separate cases. Meruchanim, mufrashan imcha, or you say that lashon by itself, it aser. Or if you go over to your friend and say, Neder Shani Toim Lach, or Shani Ochel Lach, or you just say Shani Ochel Lach, and we could assume you mean, I don't want to eat from you, I don't want to get benefit from your property, I don't want to eat at your house, I want to eat your food. So similarly over there, each by itself would be sufficient. So the Gemara answered, no, Hachigasani. The Brisa wasn't talking about two different cases. It was talking about the second part of the Brisa is explaining the first part of the Brisa. You have to add on Shani Ochel Shani Toim. So the Gemara says that Tani Yipcha. We had a Brisa which says the opposite order. Shani Ochel Shani Toim Aser. Mudranim Cham Mudranim Cham Murukan Cham Reza Aser. It says it in the opposite order. So you can't say Bamed Varamurim like I said before. So there says Tani Hachi. In the second Brisa, we'd say Vikvar Amar Mudrani. Right? The second Brisa, Shani Ochalach Shani Tolach is Aser. If originally you said before Shani Ochalach Shani Tolach Mudrani Mucha Mudrani Mucha, and then you added Shani Ochalach Shani Tolach, so it'd be the same thing. Ihachi. Somewhere say that's really true. Hainu Reisha. It's really the exact two Brises, the same exact Brises. Why need two Brises say the exact same thing? The Ode Aser Aser Lamali. In both Brises, it separates. It says Mudrani Mucha Mudrani Mucha Mudrani Mucha Aser. Shani Ochalach Shani Tolach. Why put Aser in the middle? Say Medvar Amurim or Kvar Amor, like the Gemara try to answer. Elos, the Gemara retracts. Amar Shmuel, time Amar Shnei Ochalach Shani Mutomla. What Shmuel meant to say is that if he added in Mudrani Mucha, Mudrani Mucha, Mudrani Mucha, and he added in Shani Ochalach Shani Mutomla, that who the Aser v'Chavero Mutter. He's answering himself. I'm not going to get benefit from my friend. My friend still can get benefit from me. Aval, the top of him and Aleph. Aval. Amar Mudrani Hemach. He just said Mudrani from you. L'chudei she'en asurin. Then it's actually a chumrah, but worse. If he says Mudrani I'm Shani Ochalach, so we know he is taking it that I'm not going to eat from you. I want to benefit from you. If he says Mudrani Mimcha, so not only is he intending not to get benefit from his friend, but also that his friend shouldn't get benefit from him. Ki had Amar Rav Yosef Yochanan already said this. Mudrani Hemach she'en asurin. Rav Yosef Yochanan said. He himself said, if you say a lashon like that, Mudrani Hemach, I'm taking a neder from you, it means in both ways, both that I can't benefit from you, you can't benefit from me. That's the point the Gemara is at. The Gemara, this is a point in the middle of a discussion. The Gemara is going to reject this and give a different explanation of Shmuel's statement. But that's where we are. Daf Yomi is a Daf Yomi. We can't learn a daf and a half, even though it's very tempting in the Nedarim. You can do two dafim in a half an hour, especially with me. Hope you enjoyed tonight's share. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben C. I'm going to talk about Baal Ta'acher and Nazirus and get into the heart of what Baal Ta'acher really is. Really, this is a discussion from Masechus Rosh Hashanah, but it does come up over here. I want to talk more about the nature of Baal Ta'acher coming up. Ian with Ben C. next.